Rob Staton and Robbie Williams here to look ahead to the latest Seahawks game this weekend against the Washington football team. The Seahawks hoping to go to 10-4, and while this game in isolation will not determine whether or not they're going to win the NFC West, I think it's an important game to win to try and build some momentum. You know, they don't want to be going into that Rams game having lost 5 of their last 9 games and feeling pretty lousy off the back of this one. They need to try and build some confidence and some belief ahead of the biggest game of the season. Robbie, what do you make of this game against Washington?
Yeah, this is a game they're going to need to go out and prove their offense is back, because this is a really good Washington football defense. I mean, this defense front four is dangerous. They've got 4 guys with over 5 sacks, and you know, just in comparison, we have 1. So, I mean, this is a team that can really get after the quarterback. We really need to come out and just establish a Super Bowl winning offense again and get Russ going, get the running backs going, you know, involve Tyler and DK, and you do everything that we need to do right, because this is the time that we need to go out and really prove it, because this is a good team, and they seem to be playing hot right now.
I think for me, Robbie, you've got to take the pass rush out of the game. I mean, you mentioned it there. They're very good at it. They've got the 4th best sack percentage in the league. I think the 4th for sacks overall as well. You know, you run off the names on Washington's defensive line: Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Ryan Kerrigan, all first-round picks. We talked, I think, maybe off air a few days ago about Tim Settle, who I thought, and Lance Zierlein thought was going to be a first-round pick when he came out. It ended up falling to round 5, but he's playing at a very high level. So they've got an amazing rotation. That is without a doubt the identity of this Washington team. They've pumped resources into the D-line, and they've shown what a great D-line can do for you. I mean, they look like a legit team. They could finish with a winning record, which, you know, nobody thought anybody in the NFC East was going to come away with a winning record this year. They've got a chance to at least go 500. Ron Rivera is a very good coach. Has done an amazing job there. I think there's sort of like an emotional leadership thing going on as well, the cancer problem that he's had this year as well, and that has really motivated his team. So there's a lot there. And, you know, I think if you go into this game, Robbie, and you try and throw the ball around the park, and you have Russell Wilson sitting in the pocket waiting for long downfield developing plays to emerge, that's a surefire way to lose this game. That's a surefire way to put yourselves in bad field position. It's a surefire way to put you behind the line of scrimmage and lose yardage and being like 2nd 15, 2nd and 20 and stuff like that. You're going to encourage holding calls, because, you know, whoever plays, even if Brandon Shell plays in this game, if they come up against Chase Young, I imagine there's going to be a chance of some holding going on. So, you know, you for me, you've got to try and minimize the impact of the pass rush. And the best way to do that is to run the ball. And if the Seahawks need a warning, they need to take heed from the game against Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago. The Steelers threw the ball 53 times against Washington and ran the ball 13 times with their running backs. The Seahawks cannot fall into that trap again. Steelers said immediately afterwards they should have run the ball more, and they shouldn't have asked Big Ben to throw 53 times. The Seahawks shouldn't have Russell throwing 40 times in this game. This has to be a game where you lean on Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde, and the returning Rashad Penny.
Yeah, I totally agree. Got to run the football, and then when you do pass, you got to get off that. You got to run the ball well, first of all, and then you've got to be able to do some play action if you're going to throw, and you got to get Russ outside the pocket, away from those pass rushers, and then, you know, some screen passes. I'd like to see him, you know, when they start blitzing, you know, throw pretty much screen passes, get the running backs involved in the passing game as well, you know, quick end arounds or whatever it might be. We need to keep the chains moving, and definitely keep their defense on the field, or we want to keep their defense off the field, really, to be honest. So it just really, if we can establish long drives and such, and just kind of wear them down, by the time the 4th quarter rolls around, hopefully we'll have a game in hand. But this is going to be a tough one for us, and we really have to play a lot better, and we have to come up with a way better game plan. For me, it's about Schottenheimer coming up with a better game plan than he has the last couple of weeks. I mean, even against the Jets game, there was still some questionables. It was better, but it's hard to be excited about that, because it's the Jets, right? So, like, I'd like to see them, you know, come up with a really good game plan versus a really good defense.
I think the main thing, you know, the motto I would have for this game, Robbie, is a punt is not a bad thing. You know, embrace the fact that if you have to punt, it's fine. This is not a game where I particularly want to see the Seahawks going for it on 4th and short at midfield, or, if they're in field goal range, not kicking the ball. I think it's going to be a bit of a messy game, possibly quite low scoring, if not low scoring. I mean, how do you define a low scoring game? I mean, these days, I guess 15, 20 points is a low scoring game. But, embrace the fact that it could be that type of game. And if you have to, it's kind of like if they run a couple of times, Robbie, and throw on 3rd down and they have to punt, that's not a big deal. You punt the ball, you play field position, and you say to Dwayne Haskins, because as of today, Alex Smith is not practicing today. It looks increased. If that happens again, this is Wednesday. If it happens on Thursday and Friday, he isn't going to play in this game in all likelihood. If he does, he's not going to be anywhere near 100%. If it's Dwayne Haskins, put it on Dwayne Haskins to go and beat you. I mean, I don't have any issue with that. I mean, even if you start off with that mentality, and if you have to ramp things up a little bit later on, it seems to me like if you run the ball with conviction in this game and you say, you ideally 25 to 30 passes, 25 runs, something like that, might get the job done for you in this game. And if it's a drive stalls, kick the ball away. Like I say, Dwayne Haskins, no Antonio Gibson by the looks of things, or he's going to be, I mean, they've called up Lamar Miller. I didn't even know he was still playing from a practice squad somewhere today because they're absolutely desperate at running back. This isn't a team with loads of weapons. Terry McLaurin's very good, but they don't have like 2 amazing receivers who scare the crap out of you. You can play just a controlled, methodical, game management type of game in this one. And I think if you can do that, and if you can get the running game going a little bit, then the fact that you have Russell Wilson and they have Dwayne Haskins can ultimately be the difference. I'm not saying don't take any shots downfield, but pick your moments. And when you do pick a moment, make the most of it. Ultimately, though, there's nothing wrong with being conservative in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, here's my only fear when it comes to their offensive side of the ball. It's like, I hope this isn't like a revenge game for like J.D. McKissick, I mean, he seems to be playing pretty well for him right now, and I'd hate to see him come in and just, kick our ass because he, wants to. But luckily, I feel like we do a pretty good job against their run, and I don't feel like he's gonna do that. But yeah, I mean, really just limit the mistakes. Don't get in 2nd and 3rd and long. We don't need that. Try to run the football, run right at them. And then you're right, when you take your chances throwing the ball, like, make the most of those opportunities. Make sure they're solid passes. And man, I want to see them get back to some of those quick passes they were running earlier in the season, and really take the game into your control. And if we could put a couple scores up early and you're forcing Dwayne Haskins or even Alex Smith to try to beat you, you're in a much better situation. I don't want to play small ball with these guys and not, I don't want to have them have the ball towards the end and have it be less than 3 points, because I just don't trust our defense enough for that. And I would like to see us just really have a couple score lead and then make them chase the game instead of the other way around.
Yeah, my biggest fear is that the Seahawks come out throwing, Robbie, and then something bad happens early on, like Wilson gets hit a few times and then starts to see ghosts, or you can just sort of feel sometimes, momentum building within a team. If like Chase Young gets any kind of encouragement from this game, he could take it over, and you don't want that to happen. I feel like if you come out and you throw it, you come out throwing, Wilson gets sacked, or he gets banged up, or he gets hurt, or you suddenly like losing field position, or he throws a pick six, or something, or a bad turnover, or you force a turnover or something like that because he's under pressure, or he fumbles or something. That's when you lose a game like this. You give Washington an early lead, and then you've got to chase it against that pass rush. Again, if they come out in the first series of this game, Robbie, and from the 25-yard line they run 3 times for 5 yards and punt the ball, I won't care. I will not, there'll be plenty of people on Twitter, I'm sure, who have a real issue with that. I wouldn't care. Michael Dixon, give a big booming punt downfield and then give the ball to Dwayne Haskins and say, right, go on, sunshine. You've not done anything in this league so far. What are you going to do today? And, play your defense. And if they lose the game playing like that, Robbie, I'm not going to come on Sunday and criticize their game plan. I might criticize aspects of how they executed it. But if they play a conservative game plan, there won't be any criticism from me. I think that's the way that you have to play this game. I think that is what a smart team would do against this opponent on a grass field where you have got the better players, but they have got this difference-making defensive line. And if you want to make that the key to the game, then throw it 50 times. And look at Big Ben and look at the Steelers. And they lost a game they had no business losing because of that. So that's what you've got to do. There's one other thing that's worth mentioning. Nobody could doubt Washington is on a fantastic run. But I do think a little bit that the win in Pittsburgh has kind of made them into a scarier prospect than perhaps they really are, Robbie. I mean, the Steelers just lost to the Bills. The Steelers have lost 2 in a row now. Steelers always look good, but they were a bit stodgy at the start of the year. They played some unnecessarily close games. Then they blew a game against the bad Eagles. So I don't think they were like 11-2 now? I don't think they were ever a true 11-0. And I think if they play the Chiefs will beat them quite handsomely. So they were due a bit of a slump, and it's happening now. They're having their bit of a slump. How they recover from it will define what the Steelers are this year. If you look at the teams that Washington have actually beaten on this great run, they've beaten the Cowboys twice. They've beaten the Giants by, I think, a point. They beat the Bengals, the Lions, and the Niners with their horrific injury list on top of the Steelers. So they've basically beaten a who's who of bad teams in the NFL. You know, the only sort of notable absentee is the Jets amongst that list. So, yes, they had to win those games. Yes, they're doing very well. But it's not like they're going toe-to-toe with the NFL's best every week, Robbie, and it's suddenly this major powerhouse that the Seahawks need to fear. That's why I think a good, solid, managed game this weekend could deliver a fairly decent win.
Yeah, I mean, you said something earlier that does worry me about this team. It's just playing on that grass field. And in Washington, field gets torn up real easy. You've seen people get hurt there a lot. This is one of those games where, like, I really, really hope we come out injury free. That's one of the things that, one of the downsides of running the football a lot in this game would be that aspect is, people rolling an ankle and those kind of things in this grass field. But hopefully that's not the case. But I totally agree. We just need to come out. We need to establish the run. Don't put ourselves in really bad, manageable situations, like I said, 2nd or 3rd and long, and make it to where, they get to pin their ears back and get after Russ, because we've seen what happens when you send a lot at Russ and you start getting to him, you cause a lot of havoc for him. So we really need to establish the run, set up some play action, and then on the defensive side of the ball, we really need to get after Dwayne Haskins or Alex Smith, like get after them. Like they give up quite a few sacks as well. So we need to get after them and just make sure that we're not, letting somebody that we don't really know or, beat us like we did with Wayne Gallman or whoever it was when the Giants beat us. Like, don't let them hang in this game. This is a game we need to put the points on, keep putting the points on, and then make them chase us, not the other way around.
I'd quite like to see the defensive game plan from the Miami game installed for this, which was very conservative. Maybe they don't have to be quite as conservative as that. But I don't think there's much point taking too many risks against Dwayne Haskins. It really, if he plays lights out and tortures the Seahawks and can play with composure and patience and take what's there, all the power to him. I think this is a game where you can probably play a lot of base defense and not take too many risks and avoid any kind of danger that you can play to maybe give up 3 points. Like the Dolphins kept kicking 3 every single time. They didn't score a touchdown until the very, very end of the game. It was 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. And if the Seahawks do that in this game, they'll probably win. I would fancy the Seahawks, even in a tight game, to get a touchdown or 2 at some point in the game, even if it comes off the back of a turnover. I think it will happen. So I don't think there's much need to risk too much. Obviously, they're going to blitz Jamal Adams because they have to. He's going to blitz every game, and that will be a factor in this one. But I don't think you need to get too crazy, Robbie, and take huge risks in this game. And I hope that they can kind of manage it and see it through. And as I mentioned, Robbie, at the start, I think a few people have been on the blog in the comment section this week saying, well, technically this game doesn't matter mathematically because, if you lose this game and win next week, you're above the Rams anyway and all of this. And look, the Rams game's the defining game of the season. It's going to be whatever happens this weekend. But if the Seahawks lose and go there as a 9-5 team, 4-5 in the last 9, not beating anybody, losing to team, we're just, look, if they lose this game at the weekend, what are we going to be talking about after the game? We're going to be talking about it's another reality check that this team can't go on the road and beat a good opponent. You know, if they can't even go to Washington and beat Dwayne Haskins or can't even beat Colt McCoy, what chance have they got of beating Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers or Sean McVay in the playoffs? That's the point. You know, you want to build. It's about more than where you finish at this point for me. I mean, like, yeah, you want to win the NFC West. Yeah, you want to finish top of the division for the first time in years. You want to be the king of the division and get above the Rams for once. You want to beat the Rams for once. But you also want to go into the postseason, which is ultimately what really matters, feeling like you can go anywhere and win. And if you keep losing games, how can you possibly have any belief in that?
Yeah, get that swagger back. Get that offense rolling. I mean, I said it during our last podcast. I mean, I feel like the playoffs start now. Like, we need to go undefeated. I don't want to lose another game. Like, this is where I want to go in. I want to beat Washington. I want to beat the Rams, and I want to beat the Niners. The last thing I want to do is win these next two games and then lose to the Niners at the end of the year, and then have going to the playoffs having lost the last game. Let's go on our roll now. Let's start that winning streak now. Go in, get this win, stay healthy, and keep winning. I think the playoffs for me start now. Yeah, I mean, you could look at it many different ways. The Seahawks need to win, I think, one game, and doesn't matter which one. They win one and they're in the playoffs, right? I mean, you could say, well, it doesn't really matter. All they got to do is win one of the next 3, and then they're in the playoffs. But I just hate looking at it like that. For me, I just really would rather just establish our dominance now. The defense seems to be getting better. Let's get that offense rolling again. I want to see that offense come alive like they did earlier in the season. It's time for us to start getting it back. You know, let's get Carson rolling. Like, if you want to establish the run and be a running football team, fine. I don't care how we do it. Let's just get going and get back to scoring lots of points, because I'm tired of watching us fumble around with teams that we should be, absolutely destroying. And, just really want to move forward. And for me, it's just all about keep winning. I don't want to lose another game.
So how do you feel about this one? Then let's have a. I'll give you my prediction first. I always let you go first. I think we are still tied for the year, by the way. But I've got a feeling that the Seahawks will win this game. You know, after the Giants game, I did say that I think they will go 3-1 in these last 4 games, and I still stand by that. I think that the Rams game is clearly the one that is going to cause them the most problems, because the Rams always do. And I've not seen anything from the Seahawks in the last few games to believe that this could be any different. And I want to see that in this Washington team. I want to see something that gives me hope going into the Rams game that they could win this one. So I think that, a tight game. I think they will hold Washington to field goals. I think that Washington will score 9, and I think the Seahawks will score 19, and I think it will be a 19-9 victory. What have you got?
It's funny, when you asked me originally, like, what I thought what our prediction would be after the game that went on, I said 10-6 was my guess at this point. And I originally had predicted at that time that we would lose to Washington. I am not sticking with that prediction at this time. I am going to go ahead and say Seahawks 20, the Washington football team 17. I think we will squeeze it out. Mostly it's part of just hope. I want to have that hope that we're going to do it. I know it's going to be tight. It's going to be a tough game, especially against that Washington front 4. And I just want to see Russ get it back. I just worry this is going to be a game where it's just going to be controlling the line of scrimmage, and it's going to be a lot of punts. But I think 2017 I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
See, I think if there's any Washington fans watching this, Robbie, and they're thinking, wow, you would say that, you're Seahawks fans. I think the difference maker for me completely is Alex Smith and Antonio Gibson not being there. You know, if they were there, I think we'd be having a different conversation. But they're not. And I have huge respect for this team. You know, what Ron Rivera has done is inspiring. And who doesn't like to see an amazing defensive line? Every fan wants that, you know. Maybe some fans just want to see their team throw it 60 times so they can put it into a spreadsheet. But I quite like watching a great O-line, D-line play, and seeing their defensive line smash the Niners to bits last week was a joy to behold. So I hope it doesn't happen this week. But I wish that team well for the future. Just not this weekend. I do think the Seahawks will win. And then I think it's the big one, isn't it, Robbie? And that will set things up nicely for the Rams game, the NFC West decider. And that is going to be the game when the Seahawks can potentially show that this season can be different, that it isn't going to be Groundhog Day, that they're not just going to finish second in the NFC West yet again and have a quick playoff exit. They've got to. We need to see something, Robbie. We need to start. We need to see the defense continue to give up less yards and points. We need to see the running game really emerge now. We need to see Russell Wilson playing a lot better. These are things we need to see to really believe, because that is a big thing. It's not going to make any difference on the field whether we believe or not, but you want to believe in your team. You don't want to think they're going into the playoffs just to make up the bloody numbers.
Yeah, and this could be a preview of the playoffs, right? I mean, this could be an early. Brady Henderson wrote an article today about this could be a preview of the, first round of playoffs for us. And do we really want to travel back to Washington and play them in the playoffs? I mean, I don't want to play that defense again. Like, I mean, if possible, let's go in, let's get the win, get out of there, go beat the Rams, beat the Rams, and then, beat the Niners, and then you don't have to worry about it. You can get a home playoff, and first round bye is probably out of the question. But man, if at least we can get a home playoff win, game, I'd rather much do that than go back to Washington and have to play that team again.
Absolutely, yes, definitely. So let's hope the Seahawks can pull it out this weekend. It's an early kickoff. I know a lot of people in Seattle maybe don't quite like those. It's a very early start for you guys, but it's perfect for me. 6 p.m. starts on British TV. So you're going to watch it on the TV instead of the laptop. Very much looking forward to it. Of course, we will be there after the game to talk about what has happened. Also, if you're listening to this on Wednesday, stay tuned for a blog post which is dropping on Thursday, which is a 4,000-word epic talking about some of the drafting decisions in 2018, 2019, and 2020, which have maybe had an impact on this reset. It's a long read, as they like to say. So stand by for that on Thursday. Let us know what you think about the Washington football team game. That's a mouthful. In the comment section below, do you think the Seahawks are going to win? What are your concerns? What are your hopes for this game? How are you feeling going into it? Check out Seahawks Draft Blog for more analysis. Don't forget to like the video. It helps us. It helps get the word out there. It helps push the video to the masses. And the masses have got to hear what Robbie have got to say about the Seahawks. So like the video, get the word out. We'll see you next time.